Hello, 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 Internet.
Howdy.
Hey, all right. Good afternoon and good evening to folks on the Americas side of things, and a very early good morning to folks in the Asia Pacific. This is Coded Life. Thank you for joining us here. So, we're going to be your hosts for this show. This is the Modern Experiences show. And why don't we begin with a quick introduction here, and then we'll talk about what we are here to talk about. So, Jay, why don't you tell us who you are, what you do?
Who am I? What do I do? Yeah, so my name's Jay Sanderson. I'm part of the product marketing team at Progress. My my background's kind of quite interesting. I spent 15 years as a developer, mainly working with .NET, web technologies, that kind of thing, and then moved into I guess digital marketing and marketing type efforts, and that really kind of saw me kind of get into the whole digital experience kind of thing. So I kind of went from development into a practicing digital marketing type professional, uh, and now working at software companies. And yeah, it's really exciting. So I've got a great role that sees me working with engineering, working with product management, working with the people that are implementing our technology, that are people that are actually using the technology. Yeah, it's a super fun job.
I'm Sam. I'm on the opposite corner of the world, and it's the magic of technology that we happen to be on the same screen live at the same time. I'm an old man. I come from a long developer background as well. Once we start graduating from our everyday dev jobs, there are a couple of forks in the road. People do different things. Some become architects, some become like dev leads, some become like product owners. Another path is developer advocacy, which is where we try to stay on the cutting edge of tech, and we try to understand the trends, and we try to talk about our products, but at the same time talk about the developer experience, and how we can share stories and share experiences so other developers are more successful. So that's my background, and that's what I do. I still fortunately or unfortunately write a lot of code, or I try to. So I'm clearly in the dev world, and I think to Jay's point here, based on what we do, we sometimes tend to tune out the other audiences. So when I'm talking to a marketing, sales, or an IT or a C-level person, the moment we drop into code, we tend to lose some of them because it's like too nitty-gritty details that they don't need to know. And the flip side is true for the developers in the house. When we start talking too much of marketing and experiences, they're like, "Give me the how do I do this stuff?" Type deal. So we are here to kind of bridge the gap. So we are talking the same language, and there is a lot to explore the developer's role in modern digital experiences, and also understanding how marketing people and IT people and salespeople utilize modern platforms to end up creating rich user experiences that have that continuity for the end user across platforms and devices, and whatever are those channels of communications and experiences. So that's kind of what we'll talk about. Let me ask you a question here, Jay.
Yeah,
And this
sure.
may be a very overused term in our industry, but if somebody asks you, what is digital experiences? What's your answer these days?
Yeah, it's it's probably a question's been I wouldn't say it's asked a lot, but the way that I kind of look at it, um, I want to talk a little bit about commerce and e-commerce and that kind of word, right? Like you don't hear people say e-commerce a lot lately, or,
Hmm.
or these days, right? You hear people say commerce, and I think that we should sort of really think about digital experience the same way. Like digital experience, we're talking about people using devices, we're talking about pixels on screens, or we're talking about people using voice or any kind of connected device. I think connection's kind of really important here. But I think in the current world, uh, when we think about digital experience, I mean everything's digital, right? So like,
Yeah.
when is it a point of when does it come time like commerce where you just kind of drop the digital? When we're dealing with organizations, it's not necessarily always going to be digital, but maybe it's a human being that you're dealing with that can give you a great experience, but they can make that experience better if they're connected. So to me, I think digital experience is it's about a connection between a human and an organization, whatever that is, whether it's a business, whether it's the place that they work at, because we've got to remember that digital experience isn't just about customers. It can be about employees. Like if you're an employee in an organization, you've got to use a system that's pretty terrible to get around and awkward and complicated and stuff like that. That's going to make you frustrated. That's going to make you kind of less likely to deliver a great experience to the people that you're kind of serving. So and then from there it just keeps layering up. Things are faster, things are personalized, things are fitting a myriad of different devices and become more and more efficient, and there's just a whole world there. So I'm excited to unpack it all with you.
Yeah, well said. I think you said some very key things. You're looking for experiences. You're looking for continuity. You're looking for, multi-channel, and you're looking for accessible, inclusive, meet me anywhere. So a lot of different things. So why don't we talk about this? I have a visual here that I pulled up that I thought might help us talk through. So let me share my screen here. And I will bring up this visual. This is something, because when we talk about modern experiences, this is a lot of what we are talking about, and how we see our place in the world, essentially, as progress software. We'll talk about that. But I think this slide here, this image here, really talks about what experiences we are dealing with. So I think the top layer is all about experiences. As a consumer, I am using services, I'm using websites, I'm using apps, I'm using wearables or AR, VR. I'm using chat, be it written form, or I'm just talking to a voice assistant. There are just so many devices and platforms through which I'm experiencing your product. I mean, is that a fair assessment, Jay?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this diagram, I think one of the cool things to point out here is that websites, it's just taking up that one little box in the top left hand corner, right?
Yep.
My advice to people is, I've got this saying and I repeat it all the time: website's a dirty word, right? And all I'm really kind of getting at there is that don't focus your entire efforts around building out your fantastic digital experience just on your website alone. As much as we might love to think it, our customers, our employees don't necessarily go and hang out at our website all the time, but they're really kind of connected through a myriad of devices, as well as other channels. They're getting calls, maybe they're getting letters. It's really about the entire experience, and there's so much more going on than just those pixels and words and whatnot that get kind of rendered through the web browser.
Yeah, that's well said. You pointed out a couple of things here. I also like the distinction that we make here about websites and web apps, right? So are those two things the same to you, Jay, or do you see it differently?
Yeah, I think when you think about it's a really interesting question, actually, because I think that if I think when I was on the cusp of sort of transitioning from developer to full-time digital marketer, I think this was around the time that single page apps were coming into play, right? And so I was sort of sitting on the marketing team, and I had these developers that saying, we can build a whole website and it's just going to be one page, and there's not going to be lots of addresses and stuff like that. And they were really excited about that and everything. And as I started to look at what complications that would create for me as a marketer, it was really kind of quite interesting, because I think that when I think about websites and web app, when I think about it in relation to a user journey, right? When you're not a customer, when you're signing up, when you're going through kind of onboarding, when you're researching a company or whatnot, you're dealing with their website. You're not logged into a web app. That comes later when you become a customer. So when I think about a website, I'm really thinking about um, it plays such a large role as an acquisition engine. And as an acquisition engine, I think it's really important that you've got the ability to have multiple different pages, because you're going to be pushing traffic in from all sorts of different sources, and it's got a whole myriad of things that need to be kind of done to it, rather than being, I guess, more sort of single purpose. So I really sort of see, even though technically like a web app could sort of perform that function of a website, I think that a website itself, it plays a much broader part in that
Yeah.
first part of the journey, I guess, right?
Yeah.
But I think at the same time, when when you get to web apps like that, that's a whole other thing that we can kind of unpack, right? Because web apps is where you keep your customers as opposed to where you get them. And having a great web app, having a web app that can provide all of the services that a customer might want to kind of look after by themselves is really, really key.
Yeah, as a developer, I kind of also see the distinction, like exactly to what you said, but like with spa apps. Like I see web apps as, multiple web apps could make up a bigger thing. That's your platform. That's your website. So maybe the same web platform is being used by the backend systems as well, or
Mm.
your marketing or your salespeople. But then it has a front end component to it. So web app is more of a sliver. It's more like a spa. That's a front end component through which you are interacting with your customers. But a website to me it's a bigger thing. Phil Schnabel is talking about, where do you lose the customer? Well, there are so many points in which we can lose the customer, right? And this is what I think, Jay, you were talking about. Like, it's so easy. Think about a mobile app. Like, it's just one bad experience and you have lost a customer. They're just, as we increase the number of channels and those touch points where we, interact with our customers, any bad experiences anywhere is going to be bad for and might risk, losing that customer. And even worse is if you forget a channel, like if I am in a place where I do not have my desktop or a bigger computer, you better be on a mobile phone or as a mobile app, because otherwise you're losing out. So there's just like
Yeah.
so many aspects to this. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that like as a consumer, and I think one of the great things about this show, and the things that I'm quite excited about is, some of us might be developers, others might not, but I guess at the end of the day, we're all consumers, and I think we all share a lot of the same frustrations. So that question of how do you lose a customer? Um, I think that in the world we're kind of living in, I guess the playing field just is quite even these days. When we think about price, the price wars are over. People kind of don't really kind of attract customers by price as much as they kind of used to, right? So you've got to, and it's also, when you're talking about like subscription businesses like telephones or mortgages or things like that, it's so easy for customers to leave one company and
Hmm.
move over to another
Yeah.
as well. So there's this kind of churn factor that we're sort of playing against. So
Yeah.
you've really kind of got to think about, well, what's the tipping point that's going to make a customer invest the time to move from your company to a competitor's company. And something that I'm going to probably talk about a lot in this show is, you know, is time. You know, where is a company making me burn time unnecessarily? You know, perhaps we've
Yeah.
been on the phone to like a call center or something like that. We've been on hold for 40 minutes, and you're thinking to yourself while you're on hold, why can't I just log into the app and do this? Like I just need to get this letter or this PDF, or I need to,
Hmm.
change this or change that. And other places that I've been to have that feature. So I've definitely found myself in that situation where I've moved from one organization to another simply because they afford me much
Yeah.
more self-serviceability,
Hmm.
because I guess ultimately time's the most precious resource we've
Yeah.
had, right?
Absolutely. Time is money, time is precious. And and I think digital experience, this is why it is so important, because it's a level playing field. Like you said, it's competitive. So you have to think about your customer's journey and every single touch point, because one touch point being bad might mean me moving to another business that's competing for my attention, and utilizes my time better. And
Yeah.
some of the newer things, like wearables, like for it's almost like a companion app, but sometimes it's like so much convenient for somebody to just tap on their wrist and get something done. Like a classic example is like our thermostat at home. Like when we are working out or something, like it's just so much easy to not have your phone or anything else. Just tap, and then you can take that to a whole other extreme with like some of the emerging tech. Like Apple came out with their Vision Pro, and AR VR is nothing new, but the dimension, the way humans interact with computers, that's constantly evolving, and who knows what's going to come in the
Yeah.
next few years.
Yeah, well, the Vision Pro is kind of quite interesting, and I think certainly in my career, I've seen as a move away from the traditional screen. No, no, rarely do you kind of go and sort of sit in the study or sit at the home PC these days, unless you're working. Like for me, it's unless I have to be in the office, I try and avoid it. So anyone that's going to make me go to a big screen, is not going to be in my good books. Like you want to do everything on your mobile where possible. But the other thing I see is kind of moving much more into that. Uh, Even if kind of temporarily, like this world without screens, where we're expecting our voice assistants to do more and more.
Hmm.
We
Yeah.
want we want Alexa or Siri or whoever it is that we're using to answer all of our questions. And probably where I'm probably let down a little bit is that I'm not seeing many skills being exposed by the companies that I'm kind of partner to, or sorry, a customer of, I should say, exposing skills to let me do things with that organization through the voice agents kind of thing. So maybe that's a topic for another episode. I can see
Yeah.
myself repeating this again and again and again
Yeah.
as we're
Yeah.
going through. But I think like the that Apple Vision Pro thing is I can see that totally getting rid of that kind of concept of the home office, because a lot of what I'm hearing, I haven't had the pleasure to try it myself, but I've
It's
heard some of the people.
pricey, but it's fun.
Yeah, I've heard some people kind of say that this is going to get rid of the screens. Like you wouldn't necessarily need to have your two kind of 27-inch desktop monitors or whatever your home setup is. You can put this thing on and you can be working on docs and working with files and all of that kind of thing. So I'm all for that, and I think that kind of advances, I guess, the workplace and all of that kind of thing. But yeah, not sure I'm bought into the whole Vision Pro. The jury's still out as to whether that's it's still a VR headset in my opinion. And yeah, one guy that I listen to by the name of Scott Galloway, he kind of talks about you got to be careful of things that cut off your periphery vision, because that's how people get eaten. Um, he's not a big fan right now.
Yeah, I mean, you can see people on both sides of that debate, but clearly, well, what's changing is change itself, like, and how many different ways we are interacting with businesses and
Yeah,
services.
like
And then, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, when the Oculus Rift came out, I don't know what it's like 10 years ago, but I remember
Yeah,
buying that thing off
I have that
Kickstarter.
too. Yeah,
Yeah, I bought this thing off Kickstarter, and I remember when it come home, and I'm like putting it on. It's like, and it's such beta technology, but as a techie, you kind of get excited about it.
yeah.
But I remember my wife coming home, and she didn't know what this thing was, and I just told her to sit in this chair, put these goggles on, and I put that roller coaster clip on,
Oh,
and
what?
she's like, she's like, what's the big deal and stuff like that, and I said, look to your left, honey, and she looked to her left, and immediately her arms just grabbed the chair.
Uh,
And like for me, it was just that really kind
yeah,
of cool, uh,
yeah,
seeing people experience that for the first time, and getting their reaction to it. I think as a kind of a technologist type person, I really enjoy that, showing people tech that I'm excited about and seeing whether they kind of share that same excitement.
yeah, yeah. And then, chat. We can't be cool these days without talking about anything AI. So that's clearly a frontier that's going to go, strong for, years and years now. there's just so much intelligence, so much that potential to be tapped into for improving your customer experience through
Yeah,
chat,
yeah,
through AI.
yeah.
It's just endless.
Absolutely. The whole AI phenomenon, and I'll promise not to go down too much down this kind of rabbit hole, but I guess, you know, what I'm sort of seeing there is like, yeah, I'm a big fan. Like I'm quickly becoming the AI thought of it. Sorry, I'm quickly becoming kind of like an AI enthusiast.
You are,
Uh,
yeah. And
but,
just
but but
in whatever I've had conversations with you, you always try to bring up AI. You're a fan.
but I think that like you listen to a lot of when they talk about the evolution of AI and the capability of AI and especially where Gen AI is at the moment, um, they liken it to the iPhone 1, right? And I think the thing that probably, I don't know, it kind of it troubles me a little bit, but like I'm finding right now that when I pull out, say, ChatGPT and show it to a friend that's never seen it before, and get it to do something silly like write a joke or write a song or poem or something like that, um, they're not too impressed. But when you think about what's going on
Hmm.
at a technical level, like you're
Yeah.
just kind of pulling access to this supercomputer out of your
Hmm.
pocket, kind of thing. But I think like right now with Gen AI, and this is pretty kind of well documented. We're right at the top of this kind of hype peak, and we're really kind of still sort of 4 or 5 years, probably minimum, from seeing Gen AI tech uh, really kind of normalize and plateau as a technology. So we're still in that iPhone 1 stage, in my opinion. So we're still, like if everyone remembers when the iPhone first came out and you had all of the mobile apps, there was a lot of silly apps. There were apps that, you could simulate popping the packing plastic and like silly apps like that. And when I look at what's going on with AI and the way that people are trying to weave AI into experiences and stuff like that, there's a lot of stuff I think that's we're going to see dissipate over the
Yeah.
coming years as the tech sort of matures out.
Yeah, yeah, well said. We got even like in our chat room, we got so many different opinions. Like, yeah, the speech recognition, like voice assistant apps are, they're big. They're very good at very specific things. Bathroom scales apps, yeah, that was a thing with the first iPhones. So I think what we'll try to do here as we talk about this more in this show, like we'll try to speak both the languages. Like you will see us jump into code and do build stuff, and you'll also see us talk about the marketing side of things. So the top layer here, this is all where the customer gets to touch and experience our services. But what's the next layer that you talk about, Jay? Like what's content got to do with it? What's decisioning got to do with how we drive those experiences?
Yeah. Yeah, well, let's just kind of go through them, I guess, left to right, and I'll just give you my opinion. These may not be correct, but yeah, digital content. So we're talking about what are we talking about there? We're talking about things like obviously, video, images, sound. Then you've got the textual content, and that might be sort of sitting in a database somewhere in a like kind of a rich text rich text format like HTML kind of code, or it might be just um, plain text, I guess. So that's what we're kind of dealing with at a raw level. But when we think about these big organizations with lots of different apps and websites and all of that kind of thing, the content kind of the content requirements get just blown out. So imagine now we've got to manage that content for multiple countries,
Hmm.
multiple audiences. Then you can kind of bring in things like maybe digital rights management, classification. So content and managing content and working with content, whether it's for the web or for offline purposes, online, wherever it is, it's just a massive sort of subject in itself. And I think that what I see slow businesses down a lot of the times when they're kind of looking to grow. Maybe they're kind of looking to, to build out a new web app offering, or build a new website or something like that. They're trying to scale. A lot of the times the content strategy that have employed initially might slow them down. So it's a really kind of important kind of chunk there.
Yeah.
Um,
And I mean, content is everything. Content is king. Content is what drives the experiences on the top experience layer. And like to your point, like the same content can be served up in different ways. And that's where like the personalization piece comes in. Maybe you want to localize things. Maybe you want to have different views of the same content based on, authentication and authorization as people are coming in. And all of this, like, I mean, it's data. It's how you are collecting things about the customer and how you are letting that insight drive that experience back to the customer. So it's
yeah.
kind of like a loop.
Yeah. I think if content's king, and I think I pretty much kind of concur with that comment. I think a really kind of close second is data, right? Because when you hear people throw out that saying like right message, right time. So content is where the right message lives, but you can't make that message deliver at the right time unless you don't have that data. I think when we talk about modern experiences, when we see the personalized experiences, when we kind of interact with companies like Amazon or Netflix or whatnot, and you think, gee, they must be listening in on my conversations or whatnot. It's really just a bunch of kind of clever stuff that's happening with data, right?
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, all of these different data from different sources, whether it's kind of like your in-app or on website behavior, whether it's your past purchase experiences. There's such a myriad of ways where data can kind of come together to help paint a picture of who someone is and where they
Yeah.
might be in their journey, and that enables the marrying up of that right digital content. And then we've got insights there as well. And I guess maybe coming in a close third, if you like, is that insights, like making sure people have got the right capability to see how their digital experience is tracking, how people experiencing their organization. Are they getting kind of stuck somewhere? Are they showing signs of frustration? Are they having bad experiences, good experiences, all of that kind of thing? So I think being able to measure, this is being able to have an appropriate dashboard that tells you kind of what you need to know. Because I think it was in a Bill Gates book once, he said something along the lines of, you need to hear the bad news to be able to make improvements, kind of thing. It's no use kind of having a dashboard that says, yeah, your hits were up X percentage today. That's not kind of constructive feedback. So I think insights that can give you that bad feedback. You always want to be knowing where there is room for improvement. Whether it's improving a page load speed, maybe it's personalizing an experience, a particular juncture in the journey. Insights is going to kind of help you do all that.
Yeah, yeah, well said. And like, do you see, decision making kind of rules driven things as a part of insights, or do you treat that as a separate thing often as you're driving that experience for the customer?
I yeah I treat decisioning as probably the thing that comes to mind when people talk about decisioning to me is the liberation of business logic from
Hmm.
from standard application code. Like many years in my development career, I spent working in banking, and the amount of times that we had to do, you had a small change that was just amplified out because there wasn't that centralization of business logic.
And the
So
best business logic are the ones that are in people's heads. Like a senior developer knows it and nobody else does.
well, yeah, and actually, when we talk about digital, digital decisioning, how often have you been, say, on the phone to like a call center, you're querying about your account or something like that? You're dealing with the rep on the phone, and they say those great words that everyone loves to hear. Let me go and speak to my manager about that, or let me put you back on hold where you love
Yeah.
being, and I'm going to go and speak to my manager. So if you think about, what's going to happen when they go and speak to that manager, they're going to go and bring up your account in front of them. It's not like the manager knows who you are, so they're going to have to look at your account. They're going to have to kind of like apply that logic and determine that action. So to me, like digital decisioning, it's really about kind of automating these decisions. So that kind of stuff doesn't need to happen, because
Yeah.
how many times does that team lead or does that manager get tapped on the shoulder by someone that's taking calls to ask them, what should I do in this in this situation?
Yeah.
So being able to kind of automate the things that happen frequently,
Mm-hmm.
it's good for everyone. It comes back to time.
Absolutely. All right. So we've talked about the experiences that customers have. We have talked about what drives those experiences. But when you talk about storing the information that is relevant, like that's your data tier, and that's probably the most important you know uh, treasure that you have as you are running a business. And that data can be anywhere. Hopefully, it's not a SQL server under the table like I have. But be it an on-prem, database installation, be it a cloud-based service, be it document-based databases, be it relational databases, any type of data repository is what we're talking about. That's what drives the content of your app. That's what drives the personalization and everything. And you want to be able to easily reach that data, have it be easily like plug and play. So you can switch around the middle tier, you can switch around the front end and the experience layer, and still be able to consume and write or read or write to that data. So that connected data is important. And where do you see like file transfer needs in this whole story?
Um, Look, I think for me, file transfer, as I think as we're dealing with companies more and more, we share more and more through digital means. Like maybe you're applying for a home loan and you're uploading pay slips, you're uploading bank statements.
Very sensitive things.
This is all sort of pretty sensitive, and you don't necessarily want that sitting in the iNet pub folder on your iOS web server or whatnot. So I think gone are the days there, but I think that they're, for organisations that are going to have that process of dealing with personal sensitive files as part of their overall digital experience, making sure that you're ticking all of the right boxes there. I think that's where things like like HIPAA compliance and or no all of those different kind of compliances, regulatory, all that kind of thing, come into it. So
Yeah.
it's unfortunately in today's world it's a necessary evil, right? It's
Absolutely. I mean, if you do not have cybersecurity, if you do not have protection over customers' sensitive information, then what are you even doing with it? And I see it more like on the back end side of things. Like there are so many systems that are disparate, that are, they're all driving the same, customer experience, but they're separate systems, and you want to be able to move things back and forth between those systems. That's where, file transfers come into play. So, like, this is maybe a little holistic, but this is kind of our view of digital experiences, which I think it's, fairly accurate over what anybody will, talk about digital experiences and how the pieces fit together. Now, this is where we see our space in it. So this is the same image, but with a few tools that kind of layer up over it. So this is where we see how we fit in as developers or marketing people or salespeople or IT people, anybody in an organization, as you are trying to build up those modern experiences for your customers. This is where we think we can help you out. So websites, first up, let's talk about the experience layer. Sitefinity, that is our CMS, and it's a very, very popular CMS. That if you look at it just as a CMS, yes, it will do all the things that a CMS does, but it's just so much more, because it's just the kingpin over which or around which all of your digital experiences stand. So what's your take on Sitefinity?
um, Sitefinity, yeah, it's really impressed me since I've been working with it. As I sort of said at the start of the show, I was a developer for 15 years. I got to use a lot of these developer tools the Telerik offering, especially back when I was doing a lot of Silverlight back in the day. I don't know if
Oh
you've
boy,
ever
you
touched
said
on
the S word.
Silverlight. But it was actually when I was working with Silverlight that I actually first kind of found out about our dev tool offering. I wasn't working for
Mhm.
Progress at the time, and I was really impressed with that. And I always saw Sitefinity there as another kind of product, but never really went near it because I was a developer and I wasn't really kind of working on kind of content type kind of projects. Um, but I always had a really kind of high regard for the quality of products that were kind of coming out. And when I actually got to use Sitefinity, I think one of the first things that really kind of blew me away was the like how user centric it is, how quick and easy it is to kind of get things happening, and you see here where Sitefinity it also appears on that second layer, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that I'll call out about Sitefinity, it's got that sort of separation of pages and content, right? So that's why it's kind of sitting as a separate box up the top there, because Sitefinity can help you deliver websites. However, it's totally reasonable and possible for you to have content sitting inside Sitefinity, and that's going to appear on your wearable device, and you're
Yeah.
as a developer, you're going to kind of plug in to the Sitefinity CMS, and you're going to kind of go and extract that content via a web service and interact with it from that perspective.
Yeah, yeah, well said. What I like about Sitefinity is like based on how you're using it, people will describe Sitefinity in different ways. Because for some, it is just a content delivering mechanism. That's just a pure CMS. Or you're managing your content and authorization to that content. And then you have all of the other things that Sitefinity can do that, that personalization. I come from, and I'm still a part of the developer tools like the purple box here. So I am very like we often call this like the front of the front end, because like this is where you're building the touch experiences with the customer, and then we have always had developer tools that are meant to help developers be more successful and productive. Think about all types of UI components for .NET or JavaScript or whatever is your programming language or framework of choice, and you're building those experiences, be it on a mobile app, be it on a desktop or a web app or a wearable app. We got UI, we got all types of fancy tooling that helps us build immersive, really nice experiences. But that's very much in the dev space, like you're literally building those pixels, like as you call it. But then that's just the front end. All of the intelligence often lives not in the front end, but in the few layers behind it. We have native chat, which is our AI assistant tool, and you can plug this into any other chat gpt or azure or any other aws, any type of cloud ai tooling or framework you can think of. It's just that
Yeah,
we give you the
just
front end.
just on native chat, like I like to refer to that one as a and probably both of them actually, like native chat and Sitefinity. Like Sitefinity, it's a content management system, but it's really a development platform when you think
Yeah,
about it, right? In terms of what you've got the capability of doing, you've got the capability of building kind of reusable modules that can be used again and again and again. Empowering your users, so they're not tapping you on the shoulder constantly,
yeah.
for changes.
That,
Then
that, that was a great example, by the way. Like when you said, like, let me go talk to my supervisor. Like that supervisor's information, that needs to be a flowchart that's digital, that you don't need to
Yeah,
tap on
yeah,
somebody.
yeah, yeah. But
Yeah,
then we think about native chat. Now, what that's really like a conversational UI
yeah,
development platform.
mm,
So if you want to expose a conversational mechanism, that might be a widget sitting on a website, that might be that could be a bot sitting in Teams. Like if you want to kind of start
yeah,
executing things on Teams, and maybe we can kind of play around with that. Like let's expose a digital assistant via a company Teams channel. and you can go and hook them up to those things. You can go and hook them up to ChatGPT or bespoke LLMs or even like one use case that I like is hooking them up to serverless functions, so you can actually create this conversational interface. And I know that there was a shout out there. I can't remember the username. Someone from the comments was the voice coder, if you like. But you
Marcus
can.
Vice Coder, yeah.
That's it. Native chat is going to give you that ability to build those voice agents. So if you want to build an Alexa skill or something like that, and you could say, hey, Sitefinity, can you write me a blog about cheese? And we can see these kind of these events that kind of kick off, the programmability of the CMS, hooking into Gen AI services to get the content, and everything can happen as if it's like magic, just on that kind of voice command. And I think that's where native chat comes in, as building those conversational interfaces, whether it's your employees, whether it's your customers, and I think people are expecting that more and more. And the whole Chat GPT phenomenon's really kind of gone and just thrown fuel on that fire, hasn't it? Like everyone's really chat is really kind of this. No, I think of it as it's the second most common way that we communicate. If we're not talking to each other, we're sending text messages, Teams messages, Snapchat messages. Like we could go on and on. I mean, there's too many of them, isn't there? Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's where native chat kind of comes in, being helpful, allowing to kind of group. I only have to worry about one cognitive chat flow and deploy it out, to many places.
Yeah, and then some of us would rather, like me, would rather not talk. I would rather just chat if I could. Like I don't take phone calls on my phone unless it's like my wife or somebody I know.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Like people don't often answer the phone if they don't recognize the number, and I think the phone texts identifying spam calls, they rarely kind of get through these days.
Yeah. Now, as a customer is going through the journey and they're using the experience layer, like we are all leaving a breadcrumb trail of all the things we are doing, like our interests, that we click on that thing, what exactly is driving us. So this is where I think I've heard you talk about the CDP, the customer data platform. Is that where Sitefinity Insight fits in, where you have all of this knowledge about the customer and you're driving it, or you're using it to drive that personalized experience?
Yeah, so Sitefinity Insight, I should say, it fits into that customer data platform category. Now I'll just say about that customer data platform category, the CDP category. There's a lot of players, very, very crowded category, and I think there's also some ambiguity. They're not all made the same. They don't all work the same. I think CMS has reached that kind of maturity where there's a lot of the same building blocks and whatnot, but I think right now, when it comes to customer data platforms, there's a little bit of difference in the offerings. But I think if we look at the key things that a customer data platform needs to do, there's really kind of three things. It's there to collect our data from a myriad of different sources. So if you think about an entire customer journey, your interactions with the website, your interactions with live agents, or you're walking into branches, things are getting entered into customer relationship management systems. You're paying bills, you're making purchases, you're attending events, whatever it is you're doing, it's creating data everywhere. So the first thing that a CDP should really be kind of doing is enabling you to basically take all of that data from different places and make it accessible at one juncture point. And then once you've got that, then you can kind of move into the second thing, which CDPs do, which is all about segmentation. So I've got all of this data about a particular customer. How can I kind of create a segment that is going to be telling, again, going back to kind of that, who someone is and where someone sits in that journey. I think that's all done through segmentation. Show me all of the people that bought the PlayStation 5 because the PlayStation 6 is coming out. So now I've got like a segment of people maybe that I could go and show the PlayStation 6 to.
Right.
That's the last bit, that when we talk about activation. So once we've got the segment, how do you activate against that? How do you show someone some different content, or how do you send them a message or a text message or whatnot? And that's really got to happen in the right place at the right time, sort of thing. So it's not just about personalizing the homepage. It might be that next time they log into the app, they need to see a warning message or something like that. And I think more and more that's building that kind of capability out, or it's coming more and more of a demand from marketers that they're enabled to be able to do that themselves. And I think that's really where that CDP comes in. It's like, I need to get this message out. I don't want to go and have to start up a project to pull all sorts of different
don't ask your developer to change things because you want to drive a certain campaign.
It just won't happen, right? Like, we've all been there, So I think it's really about enabling marketers to do the things that bother the developers less.
So I heard three things. Like, first is collection of data, and then you segmentation, where you put things in a bucket and then you categorize, and that's how you go with targeted personalizations for the things that you want to say to that right audience that matters.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Corticon, that's our decision making system, and it can be a lot of different things, but it's all JavaScript. So have you played around with Corticon?
So Corticon's got it's a product that allows you to, at a very basic level, you're talking about building up business rules or decisions, if you like, in a matrix. And it's very, very sort of simple to use. It's like using a spreadsheet. You've got a column down one side with all of your kind of different attributes, and then you've got all the potential values of those attributes. Do you know what I mean? So we can sort of see how, if the age is greater than this and the country they live in is this. So we're building up this logic in a matrix that kind of looks like a spreadsheet. Once that decision or business rule has been created, there's two ways it can go. So you're right with the JavaScript there. We can basically take that business rule that's been put together and tested and all of that kind of thing by not a developer, like maybe like a systems analyst, business analyst type person. They've tested that's okay, and that can all be kind of parceled up as a JavaScript file. And gone and hosted like in a serverless function or something like that. But there is another deployment option. Like if scale becomes a problem, like if you want to do thousands of decisions a second or a minute or whatnot, there is a more sort of heavy duty deployment type where you've got rules servers and you push your rules up to those rule servers and stuff like that. From the best of my understanding, that's not JavaScript, but I think we're pretty excited about it's been around for a few years now, the JavaScript version of Corticon, because it's the language of the internet, isn't it? Let's face it, right? So I think that's really kind of opened that product up, and it's not a super sort of sexy product, but I think that we all love time. We all want more of it, and I think that's really Corticon's biggest value lever, is that when you're liberating that business logic from code, where you're automating decisions, so people don't need to go and ask their manager. This is where it's all going to come in.
And the last layer, like, we take this responsibility seriously. Like, you're talking about serious data. You're talking about connectivity and integrations and, security and transactional nature of, dealing with data. So that's where Data Direct comes in, plug and play with just a variety of sources, which might be hosting your data. And then Move It is our solution for all types of secure file transfer. So I think that this is where we see ourselves in the digital experience story. Did you have anything more to add to this?
I was when you started talking about Data Direct, I did start thinking about the SQL Server underneath your desk, and it's a really common use case for Data Direct, because when we're talking about pulling data about a customer that's working with an organization. If you think about, big banks and whatnot, you think about where that data is going to sit, physically, where is going to sort of physically sit. And chances are, with a lot of these bigger organizations, they are still they haven't completely moved to cloud. They still have a data center. They still have servers. They might be running like really ancient database tech like DB2 or something like
In
that.
fact, I know, let's just say, a multi-million-dollar business that runs all of its customer data through Access, and
Right. Yeah.
it's
Well.
a local company, so I don't judge them. They're not very big, but it's the
Yeah.
reality for a lot of enterprises. Like the data tier is really old, and that's fine. You should still be able to connect to it.
Some of the best database professionals begin their careers on Access, and,
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
one. I'm just one of them. It's like,
Oh, okay.
yeah, like don't get me started. And the multi-user access, and that was a real pain. And you had the back end access file, and then you had all the front end and all of that kind of thing. But this concept of bringing all this data together, like, yeah, it's one thing to have something like Insight that's kind of sitting there, that's the marketers front end to bring it all together, but there's heavy lifting that needs to kind of go on behind the scenes, and it becomes a real puzzle. How do I connect this 40-year-old database technology that's running mission critical businesses, that's sitting on the company's 10 in their data center, to this new fandangled cloud technology was bought in 2 years ago by the marketing department? These problems are real. They kind of exist, and I think this is where technology like Data Direct really kind of comes into its own, because it provides that sort of robust connectivity that really can kind of connect anything to anything.
Yeah. Well said. So me and Jay are passionate about this, and which is why we have started this show. And Jay, we have already blown through an hour, which is fun. But since we talked through so much of it, I know this is opening up big can of not worms but fun things maybe. But I know you love showing off like tips of the iceberg here with digital experiences. So why don't we take like maybe 10-15 minutes more on the first show here, if you want to show off maybe a little bit of what a customized digital experience might look like. I know, Jay, like this, it's a banking demo that you have built up, and some of the folks have helped internally. We can easily spend an hour talking about this, and maybe that's what we'll do in the next show. But why don't you maybe just show us the tip of the spear here? What exactly are certain personalized experiences? What are some ways this can evolve as people are interacting with your websites, your web apps, and then we'll
Yeah.
talk about mobile experiences and so on. So I
Yeah,
see you have
sure.
shared my desktop, your
Yeah,
desktop rather.
so I've got like an incognito screen. What I want to do here is I've done that in an incognito window, just for cookies, right? Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just
yeah.
want to make sure that when we're kind of hitting this page, and this is our fictitious, it's a digital bank, right? And
Quantum
we
Digital Bank. That's a great name.
Quantum Digital Bank, yeah. I think that's you locked a bunch of us in a room, hungry, and we needed to come up with a name really quickly. So that happened.
We take your real money and we make them into quantum computing, I don't know, cryptocurrencies. Okay, so it's a
Um,
banking website.
yeah, so we've kind of put this together. So this is, yeah, as I say, this is the tip of the iceberg. We want to kind of use this throughout the show as a way where we can kind of build on things. So if we want to kind of build a capability, like how do we build this? How do we do that? I think we'll kind of keep coming back to this. Maybe we'll make it the bank of our dreams. It's going to have all of the things that we want, sort of thing. So I guess, yeah, wish list in the comments, I guess, right? But so we're sitting on this bank homepage, and it looks like every kind of regular bank homepage, products,
Looks nice
services.
actually. Looks well designed. There are sections that kind of flow after each other. Looks nice.
Yeah, but if it's got a little bit of personalization baked into it, so we'll kind of just quickly go through that. So you can sort of see here that where I've come to it. No, I'm in an incognito session, so as far as kind of the system behind the scenes is concerned, this is the first time it's ever seen me. No, it hasn't picked up a cookie or anything like that. So it's showing me what I would refer to as the default experience for an unknown visitor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's showing this green car loan, and I might come here thinking I need to go in and log in and check some finances and stuff like that, but this has distracted me, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So like I kind of click on this green car loan option. Something that I'm starting to notice quite a bit over here actually is financial institutions offering kind of really kind of great kind of financing deals on green stuff. If you want to put solar panels on your house, or if you want to buy an electric car, they're really helping you out on the interest rates, which is nice of them. But as I start, so I'm starting to kind of like read through all of this, and I'm kind of exploring all of these different options and everything, and you'll notice that a little chatbot's popped up, and
Yeah.
the reason that's happened, and I know because I kind of set up a bunch of this stuff up behind the scenes, as I've gone and looked at more and more content relating to these green car loans, the tracking, it's like reading my poker face, or it's like someone sitting at a used car yard as a salesperson, and they're watching people walking around the lot. Like I've gone and looked at a few price stickers. I've kind of indicated,
Right.
I'm interested. So this is kind of like the first personalization in this journey that we're seeing, and it's not one that's changing content, but it's literally saying, you seem kind of engaged, and maybe you want to kind of take that next step. So let's throw up this chat bot, and see if we can kind of get you to kind of step a little bit sort of further. Now, maybe it's the case that I just got distracted before, right? So maybe it's not a car loan that I'm chasing. Maybe the wife's on to me. She's wants us to go and buy our first home, that kind of thing. So I could start going through those kind of steps within the chatbot. And again, as I'm talking with the chatbot, we've got to think about what are the different tells that I'm kind of giving off for all of the poker players that are in the chat. What are the signals? What are the signs of intent that I'm kind of giving out here? This is all getting collected by that sort of CDP technology as well. So I'll just go and give it a fake name here. And I'll give it not my real phone number, folks. And
Poor and Adam Watson.
yeah, so if all of this has worked out okay, I've kind of had that engagement there. So now if I go back to the home page, we've seen a personalization take place, right? So
yeah.
And that's actually, even though I've sort of only been operating in the concept of the website, we can think about that chat channel as a separate channel in its entirety, because it would be very easy for us to push that out to Facebook Messenger,
Sure.
to Teams, to all of these different other channels, Alexa for voice, and whatnot. So now I've got this kind of new experience, and now I've got it's really kind of giving me info there, sort of pushing me along that journey. And probably where I'll draw things to kind of a close, I'll just log into the internet banking portal behind the scenes, and we're also going to see a little bit of personalization happen here as well. When I log into my internet banking, we've got this mortgage calculator up the top here, and as we scroll down, we'll see that this is all kind of placeholder stuff, and hopefully over the coming shows we can start sort of making a bit of this kind of come alive. But this is that logged in application experience, and I think this is becoming more and more important for customers in this day and age, to have this great customer experience to keep you there longer. Customer
Yeah.
retention. I think everyone's heard it's much cheaper to keep a customer than to get a new one in the first place. So making a great logged in experience, portal experience, whatever you want to call it.
I like this little demonstration here, because you expressed your interest in home financing, and when you log in, you are seeing a mortgage information. Where if I had come in through like a car sales thing that I'm interested in, so you're saying I might not see that first section whatsoever, because my interests don't align with a particular thing.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
and
Yeah,
and this is where maybe like marketing has a new campaign for some mortgage specials that they're doing that month. They don't need to come to the dev to say, can you stick that div tag inside of that thing on a logged in experience.
yeah.
So that's the personalization.
This is like if I go back, not too far, like 2016, 2015, working in quite large organizations in digital marketing, you've kind of got that control over the website and what happens on it. And it was a very real thing that you'd almost have arguments. You've got, especially when you're working for the bank, you've got the home loan team, and you've got the credit card team, and you've got the savings account team, and they all want to have that they want that homepage banner. And a lot of the times you'll go to organisations where it's like they've got the ones that scroll, showing their product.
Nothing like a scrolling list of banners that shows like how focused you are.
That's right, and companies might get sophisticated. Well, we'll have a schedule, like you'll get the first week, and then they'll get the second week. But when you think about it, if you want to be really sort of sophisticated about that, you should be sort of saying to that to that product team, what are the should we be showing this to maybe people that sort of fit this particular criteria? What can we kind of determine? Maybe we'll show the home loan offer to people that maybe we have shown some kind of intent, or at least are going to be kind of eligible, kind of thing. So that's where that whole sort of segmentation kind of comes back to it. And right message, right time, all that kind of thing.
Yeah, well said. Oh, I see another good friend of ours in the chat room. Howdy, Code with Sean, another fellow streamer. We are on at a not a usual time for me, but this is a brand new show, Sean, that we are starting up. It's going to be this time of the afternoon, East Coast time, because I get to hang out with Jay, who's in Australia. So our time zones, match up, and we're going to bring on, more folks. We have already been talking for an hour today, but the goal here is to talk about digital modern experiences and how we go about building that, how we understand the language of marketing, sales, IT, and how do we also bring developers into the realm so they can do smart things, not just on the front of the front end. So we'll be building things out, and this is a banking demo that Jay is showing off. It already has a little bit of customization because you showed a little bit of interest in financing mortgages, and that's why you see that. And the best. Sorry, good.
I was going to say just two other bits that's kind of in this as well that's going to be available for us to play with is so it does have some interface with that decisioning. So we can see decisioning to come into play if I go and change my home value from 500 to 250. Don't know if you just sort of saw that, but I actually lost.
Oh yeah, you did.
So decisioning can be really, really useful when it comes to like determining eligibility and all of that kind of thing. And Corticon's actually being used to do all of the interest rate calculations and all of that kind of thing. So the developer that's putting that together, he's really just got to kind of connect with that function, pass in things, and he gets the stuff out he needs, and doesn't have to worry about getting the logic right. That's all been centralized and everything. So that's kind of the Corticon thing. And then we've also got the ability to change the contrast of the portal environment. And that's actually done with a dev tool offering. You might know a bit about this, Sam. Theme Builder.
Yeah.
So that's working with Figma designs and
Nice.
breaking down those CSS rules into something more manageable.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
You want to, like, as a developer, it's good to be lazy. You want to reuse your styles. You reuse your web components in as many places as you can.
And
So
I
yeah,
think consistency, and
right,
like if this is the experience for Quantum Bank for my internet banking, I'd kind of expect it to have a similar experience regardless of where I'm
right.
dealing with them. I think that you don't want to have this kind of disjointed, different
Yep, yep.
experience across your organization. I think that's another key. Certainly, as an employee, I see that as a huge area where companies can make vast improvements. When you think
Yep.
about that employee experience, how many applications do you need to log into just to do, like you've got a different system to put in for time off, you've got maybe a different timesheet experience, expenses are somewhere different, like, and there's all of these different interfaces and everything. So we know what it's like as an employee, and I think for customers it's the same. So
Yep, yep.
technology that allows that to be managed is exciting in my books.
Yeah, yeah, very much so. And actually, just before coming on the show, I was looking through some of my mail here, Jay, like actual physical mail that I get in the
Yeah,
mailbox.
right. Okay.
And
Yeah.
you gotta love the ones where you get something in mail from a company that says my name or current resident of this address. Like, you know enough about me, but you're not using it at all. Like when you say me or any other resident that your offer applies to, that's not personalization.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it's really interesting. Like when you kind of talk about the that junk mail, or like that's coming in. You saw a retraction of people doing that kind of activity to get customers, brochures in letterboxes and junk mail and all of that kind of thing. That they moved on to digital because, oh, this digital's more effective. We can put up ads, we can do search engine marketing, we can do email marketing, all of that kind of thing. But I think now what we're actually seeing is some companies are going back to that because, one, it's actually becoming cheaper. It's the cheapest way for them to reach their audience because digital's actually surpassed it in cost. When
Mm,
when you think about advertising, you've got to get your message to where your customers are. Like I know with one company that I worked at, they had a much older demographic. They used to invest a lot of money in that kind of direct mail advertising because their people weren't using computers. They were more happy to kind of browse a brochure that came in the mail, that kind of thing. But if you look at the costs that people are spending on digital advertising now, in some sectors, it's really kind of gone up. If they've got a customer base that a company wants to access, and that customer base is competitive, when you think about, like, say, high net worth individuals, that don't watch standard paid advertising and stuff like that, getting in their ears, maybe it's on the podcasts that they listen
mhm.
to, or the events that they attend, or the sites that they visit. It's becoming sort of so highly contested. We've all
Yeah,
sort of
yeah,
heard stories of, buying keywords on search for hundreds of dollars, kind of thing.
yeah, yeah.
So what's $1 or $2 to send out
That's true.
physical
That's true.
mail, sort of thing? So
Yeah,
that's a whole interesting thing within itself.
yeah. And speaking of that, like all of America's, like United States, came out of Super Bowl yesterday, and that is a lot of money for digital advertising in any spectrum, any touch point that you can think of, because
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have the
yeah.
user's attention.
Astronomic kind of
Astronomically high. Yes.
figures there when you
Yeah.
hear about that, but then you've got to, yeah, like it would be interesting to kind of take that and break that down to the reach, right? Like I was listening to someone the other day talking. They were talking about the huge amount of money that Joe Rogan signed up for with Spotify, I think it was, right? Like to podcast through Spotify. Now, Joe Rogan, love him or hate him, I think it was like 250 million
Yeah.
dollars a year or something like that, like crazy figure.
Just
But when you think, like, his podcast, it gets downloaded like 190 million times a month.
Yeah.
So if you just work that out, dollars for cents for reach, etc.,
Yeah.
That's actually a pretty good deal for those advertisers, buying into that kind of reach, I guess. So yeah, it's a really interesting sort of space, and I think
It really is.
ad technology, I think we'll kind of be sort of touching on it here, but like that's a whole world to its own. But I think it's certainly something that digital experience technology, for the broader term, can interact with. We want to use that segmentation data not just to kind of deliver messaging to people that we know, or that are our customers. It might also be about kind of getting messaging out to maybe people that have got sort of similar traits, or even if it just comes down to talking to existing customers off of your properties, because they, as much as you don't like to think it, people don't go and hang out at their bank website all day when they go online. Like, they're really only going there on a needs basis. So
Mhm.
chances are, if you're going to talk to them, you've got, especially if you want to sort of position a product, sometimes you need to kind of engage with that ad tech, and there's a whole sort of process around doing that efficiently and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah. Well said. Well said. So on that note here, Jay, it's getting to a point where my kids are going to start coming back from school. So I think we might have to draw a line here today. So clearly we can talk about this a lot more, which is exactly the goal. So I'm going to bring your desktop down here, Jay. So again, folks in the chat room, what we are trying to do here is understand digital experiences a little better and understand the moving pieces. I think we're going to see, Jay, maybe next time around we start with this banking solution that you're showing, and we can, build out those hooks, see how we can, replicate the user's experience across those touch points, bring in more, personalization, and just, try to build out from here. Um, I'm Code with Sean is saying checks bank website last seen 15 seconds ago. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Or like stock tickers. And there are so many apps which get heavy usage because, but not something like a bank where you're going in with a targeted action in mind.
That's right.
But
You're not going there every second to check your annual compound interest rate just to
right.
make sure that it's gone up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Stock's a different story. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, folks. I think that's the show for this week. Code with Shah, Marcus, Vushnavel, and everybody else in the chat room. Thank you for hanging out with us. And this is just the beginning. You're going to see Jay and me talk about this stuff every week, and we're going to start building out some solutions. You're going to see me, and we're going to bring on some guests. Jump into code. You're going to see Jay, sprinkle his magic and do personalizations with CMS and build out widgets for your websites and web apps, and we can reuse that on a mobile app. Everything is possible under the sky here. So thank you for joining us, and Jay, thank you for your time and spending an hour of your morning with me. All right, folks, that's it from us this time around. We'll see you around on the next stream. So be well, be productive, and see you around. All right, bye bye.
See you later, guys. See you, Sam.